I didn't believe in time travelers until I saw this. How else to explain some of the finds of archaeologists from which my brain explodes? Archaeologists have already found ancient artifacts that could not have existed thousands of years ago many times. Watch this video until the end to learn more about these unique discoveries. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Antenna at the bottom of the sea. In 1964, the research vessel USNS El Tanin was exploring the depths of the Southern Ocean and accidentally took a photo of something incomprehensible. At a depth of 3,900 meters, the camera recorded an object that looked like a radio antenna. What is this? Another lost signal from aliens? The news quickly spread through the newspapers, and everyone decided that this was confirmation of extraterrestrial intelligence. But everything turned out to be not so simple. After a while, scientists found out that this is not an alien technology. In fact, it was a deep-sea sponge that really looked like an antenna from a distance. As it turned out, nature also has its own design style. Bas-reliefs with mechanisms. Sometimes we see faces, animals, or objects in the clouds. This is called pareidolia, when our brain draws familiar images where they actually do not exist. What about space pareidolia? Remember the face on Mars that turned out to be just a mountain? A similar situation happened in Egypt, in the city of Dendera. In an ancient temple, archaeologists discovered a bas-relief that depicts a gas discharge lamp. Did the Egyptians use electricity? In fact, this image combines a flower and a snake, which symbolize stability and fertility. But in the Temple of Osiris, found a helicopter and an airship. But even here there are no surprises. These turned out to be traces of old plaster, which eventually wore off and created such interesting drawings. Quarry Skull. The next incredible story is about the famous Piltdown Man. We are going to 1912 in the small village of Piltdown in England. The bones of an ancient man who lived more than 500,000 years ago were found in a gravel pit. But no ordinary man's bones. This skull looked like a mixture of ape and human, like a missing link in evolution. Archaeologists, including the famous Charles Dawson, were delighted. They even named the find after him, Eoanthropus dawsoni. More bones and a fang were found in the quarry, which definitely belonged to this ancient man. Piltdown Man became a celebrity. He was considered the ancestor of modern people. However, in 1953, the truth was revealed. It was all a fake. The skull was painted and made to look like an ancient one, and the jaw belonged to an orangutan. Even the fang was painted. Many suspect Dawson himself of creating this fabrication. There are other suspects, including the famous writer Arthur Conan Doyle. But the mystery remained unsolved. Piltdown Man has become one of the most notorious archaeological hoaxes. As you can see, even scientists can be deceived. Did you believe in this story? Singapore Stone. In front of you is a huge sandstone stone which is several centuries old. It stood at the mouth of the Singapore River, like a staunch guardian of time. On it you can see strange symbols. This is an inscription that could not be deciphered. It may have been written in Old Javanese or Sanskrit. Maybe it was ordered by some powerful madman. This stone is even associated with the legendary strongman of the 14th century named Badang. They say he threw a stone into the river and later stone columns were erected in his honor. But what happened to it next? In 1843, the stone was blown up to widen the passage at the mouth of the river. Only pieces of it remain, and one of them is now in the National Museum of Singapore as a national treasure. This stone is not just an old piece of sandstone. This is the mystery that scientists are trying to solve. The secret that this inscription holds will tell us more about the past and the people who lived in ancient times. Perhaps technology from the future will help us decipher it. Petrified Bullet. Mysterious 2,200-year-old bullet found inside stone in Crimea. Yeah, you heard me right, a bullet. In those days, small arms and gunpowder did not yet exist. Researchers discovered it when the stone cracked. How did the bullet end up inside the ancient stone? This find could change the whole history. Could it be that a bullet from the future hit the past and lain in the ground for several millennia? In any case, the artifact is shrouded in mystery and we can only guess what really happened. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Deli, purple sapphire. This story begins with a Hindu temple where the mystical Deli purple sapphire was kept, but it was actually an amethyst. During the Indian Rebellion of 1857, Colonel Pharaohs took the stone for himself. He did not know that horrors awaited him ahead, loss of fortune and health. And the same thing happened to his son. The writer Edward Heron Allen became the owner of the amethyst in 1890, but bad luck continued to haunt him. He even tried to drown the stone, but to no avail. As a result, the stone, as if stained with blood, ended up in a safe and then in the London Museum of Natural History. No one else dared to own this stone. So if you suddenly come across this stone, be careful. There are curses in archaeology. Don't you believe it? Subscribe to my channel and I will tell you many more amazing stories. Iron in the Bronze Age. And how can one explain the existence of iron in the Bronze Age? After all, after the Stone Age, the Bronze Age follows, and only then the Iron Age. Is this clear evidence of time travel? The answer is simple and at the same time mysterious. Meteorites. Yes, it was in meteorites that ancient people found iron. These space rocks that have fallen to Earth are made of an iron-nickel alloy that hardly rusts. And so the ancient masters began to process this heavenly iron, creating amazing things. One of the famous examples is the dagger of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, made more than 3,300 years ago from meteoric iron. Considered a gift from the king of Mitanni, it can be seen in a museum in Cairo. In the U.S. state of Illinois, they even found iron beads made from a meteorite. Iron was so valuable that only kings and priests used it. Iron in the Bronze Age is like a gift from heaven. Iron lost its sacred meaning only with the advent of the Iron Age. Gome Mummy. Do you know the legends about small creatures that lived underground? The Ainu, the original inhabitants of Japan, and the American Indians described them as undersized creatures that lived in the underworlds. Perhaps this is even the prototype of the mysterious gnomes. In 1932, in the mountains of San Pedro, gold diggers blew up a rock and discovered a strange mummy weighing only 340 grams and 46 centimeters tall. This dwarf was covered in a strange dark substance, and his eyes seemed incredibly bulging. Scientists have long thought who it is: a doll, a mummy of a child, or evidence of some ancient race. Unfortunately, the mummy disappeared, and one can only guess about its fate. Many ufologists consider it a possible proof of a subhuman or even extraterrestrial race. Where this mysterious mummy is now, no one knows. Baghdad Battery. And how do you explain this find from the past which combines the technologies of the present? In 1938, archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig discovered a mysterious earthenware jar in the Iraqi desert. Inside the jug was an iron rod wrapped in copper. It looks like an ancient battery that is 2,000 years old. One scientist even took a copy of such a Baghdad battery, filled it with grape juice, and got electricity. The TV show Mythbusters also tested this theory, and it turned out to be plausible. Could the ancient inhabitants of Iraq have used this jug as a battery? Maybe they just kept the scrolls in it, or was it a cunning trick in the temples? Scientists are still arguing. Unfortunately, the original jug was stolen in 2003, and now we can only guess what it actually served for. Perhaps this jar is the key to the secrets of ancient technologies, or maybe it's just an interesting artifact. Viking Sunstones. Imagine the Vikings, mighty seafarers who conquered the seas from Norway to North America. In sunny weather, everything was simple. They looked at the sky and swam where they needed to. But what to do if the sun is not visible? This is where the mysterious sunstone, or solarstein, comes into play. This crystal was not just a beautiful jewel, but also a kind of Viking compass. With it, they could determine where the sun was in the sky, even if it was hidden behind clouds or fog. The researchers puzzled for a long time what kind of stone it was until they realized that it could be Icelandic spar or cordierite. These crystals could split the light and show the path of the sun to within a few degrees. This story tells us that it is not necessary to use the technologies of the future. Our ancestors managed, with the help of primitive objects, to navigate the seas and oceans at any time of the day. The Starving of Sakara. We simply cannot ignore ancient Egypt, the world of pharaohs and pyramids. This civilization has always excited the minds of scientists, but there is one mystery that has not yet been solved, and that is a sculpture called the Starving of Sakara. It depicts two strange figures with large heads, and no one knows who they are. The language of the inscriptions on the sculpture also remained unknown. This statue is like no other. It remained in a private collection until it arrived at Concordia University in Canada in 1999. Experts from all over the world are still trying to figure out if this is a unique example of ancient art or a cunning fake. So what is it really? The real truth about the Starving of Sakara is still hidden. Maybe some of you will be able to find out the truth. Penny from Maine. Known as the Goddard penny, this Viking coin was discovered near an old American Indian settlement in Maine in 1956. Could it be that Vikings and Indians once met? The only known Viking site in America is Canada, not Maine. Some scientists think it might be a fake. Does anyone think that Goddard himself or one of the archaeologists put the coin? But so far, this coin is a real mystery that has been worrying researchers for more than half a century. History reminds us that the past is always full of surprises and unknown secrets. Stone Age tunnels. Imagine the maze of tunnels underground in Europe that stretches from Scotland to the Mediterranean. These mysterious tunnels date back to the Stone Age and have been around for 12,000 years. Archaeologists such as Heinrich Kusch are simply amazed by this miracle. The tunnels, only 70 centimeters wide, stretch for hundreds of kilometers underground. There are even rest areas. Who built them and why? Maybe they were shelters from enemies or mystical passages of elves and dwarves. What if someone in ancient times tried to build subway lines? What is it? A mystery of antiquity or something more? The secrets of these tunnels may never be revealed, but they are a reminder of how amazing and incomprehensible ancient civilizations can be. To dig deep underground in the Stone Age without the technology of the future, such a tunnel is an unrealistic task. Pharaohs Mobile. This is one of the most inexplicable archaeological finds discovered in the tomb of the ancient Egyptian ruler Thutmose III. Archaeologist Amin Fahmy discovered this strange object back in 1923 during excavations in the Valley of the Kings. Then the researchers did not quite understand what it could be and placed this item in a museum. After 100 years, they decided to return to it to carefully study it. The device shocked scientists with its resemblance to a modern mobile phone. It was a thin rectangle of gold and jade engraved with symbols resembling buttons. Were there time travelers who could bring a modern device into the past? After all, often in the tombs of the pharaohs, archaeologists managed to find bas-reliefs on which the ancient Egyptians hold something similar to a modern smartphone in their hands. Some researchers have suggested that it may have been a decorative ornament or a status symbol, but no one has been able to pinpoint its purpose. Materials and manufacturing technology, which were unusual for that era, were especially questionable. At the beginning of the 20th century, photographs of this item and the tomb where it was discovered were immediately leaked to the press. The exotic find has given rise to many theories and speculations. Some claim that this is evidence of the contact of the ancient Egyptians with extraterrestrial civilizations or time travelers. Others consider this a joke or a hoax. Despite numerous studies, the Pharaohs Mobile remains a mysterious artifact that has no analogs in the history of archaeology. This find continues to inspire scientists for new research and makes us think about the unsolved mysteries of ancient Egypt. Stone softening technology. Do you think it is possible to construct a building out of giant stones weighing up to 150 tons using nothing but round stone hammers? Well, they did it in Peru. Here is the mysterious Sacsayhuaman complex with amazing walls where huge boulders are so perfectly fitted to each other that even a knife can't get between them. Scientists are still puzzled over how this is done. The official explanation sounds incredible. The Incas threshed stones, lifted them, checked how they fit, and chipped off the excess. Wait a minute, they lifted 150-ton stones with hammers? It can't be. Interestingly, the Incas themselves admitted that the buildings were here long before them, and there is also a legend about a liquid that made the stones soft. Mystic, isn't it? One thing is certain, the walls of Sacsayhuaman hide secrets that we can only guess about. Perhaps they are the key to a forgotten civilization about which we know almost nothing. And to learn more about our past, subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone.